The invitation arrived on thick art paper. The Westfield family invites you to an exclusive unveiling of Legacy, a family portrait at the Riverside Gallery. My parents' vanity project, scheduled for Saturday evening. A commissioned oil painting depicting our family in formal attire. 3 months of planning, 200 guests, champagne reception. I wasn't in the painting. The invitation included a note in my mother's handwriting. Sophia, we decided to keep the portrait to immediate family members who've established themselves professionally. You understand, it's about representing the family's achievements. You're welcome to attend the public viewing hour Sunday afternoon. I sat in my office at Westfield Properties, reviewing quarterly reports. I was 30 years old and CEO of a commercial real estate development company that owned 43 properties across the city, including the Riverside Gallery where my parents were hosting their portrait unveiling. My family thought I was still trying to make it in real estate. My older brother Marcus was 33, an architect at a prestigious firm. My younger sister Amanda was 27, recently made junior partner at a corporate law firm. My parents treated them like dynasty heirs. Every family dinner revolved around Marcus's building designs and Amanda's casework. When I mentioned my work, my father would nod absently and change the subject. That's nice, honey. Marcus, tell us about the museum project. The portrait unveiling was my mother's crowning social achievement. She'd been planning it for months to showcase the family's collective success. The guest list included judges, business leaders, arts patrons, everyone who mattered in the city's establishment. Just not the daughter who owned the venue. My assistant Jennifer knocked on my door. Sophia, the Riverside Gallery manager, called. Your parents are requesting additional exhibition space for their event this weekend. I pulled up the gallery's booking schedule. They wanted the East Wing, which was reserved for a photography exhibition by emerging local artists, a commitment I'd made when acquiring the property. Tell Michael the current space allocation stands. No changes to existing bookings. Jennifer paused. Your mother was quite insistent. She told him the family that owns the gallery would want to accommodate them. I almost laughed. The family that owns the gallery is me. The answer is no. What my parents didn't know. I'd acquired the Riverside Gallery building through a holding company with a different name. The gallery manager, Michael Torres, reported directly to my company. He was effectively my employee. My parents had booked through normal channels, paying standard rental fees, never realizing their daughter owned the building. The week before the unveiling, my family group chat exploded with excitement. My mother posted photos of the portrait in progress. Marcus in a sharp suit, Amanda in elegant business attire, my parents in formal wear. The empty space where I should have been was obvious if you looked carefully. The composition had an awkward gap on the left side. My mother wrote, "So excited for Saturday. This portrait represents everything our family has built. Marcus and Amanda, you've made us so proud." My younger cousin David texted me privately, "You're not in the portrait." What the hell? I saw it. Are you going to say something? I looked at the property management documents on my desk. The Riverside Gallery lease agreement. The booking confirmation. The standard contract clause allowing the property owner to modify arrangements with 72 hours notice for scheduling conflicts. I'll handle it, I texted David. What I didn't tell him. I'd scheduled a board meeting in the gallery's conference room for Saturday afternoon, requiring building access that would conflict with my parents' setup timeline. Thursday afternoon, Michael Torres called. Sophia, your parents are requesting early access Saturday morning for extended setup. They want catering, additional lighting, a string quartet. It's significantly beyond their booking agreement. What did you tell them? That I'd need to check with building management. Your mother said, I'm quoting, the family's relationship with the gallery ownership should allow for flexibility. I leaned back in my chair. What does our standard booking agreement say about setup modifications? Any changes require approval from property management and may incur additional fees. Then that's your answer. They get the space they booked during the hours they booked with the services they contracted for. Nothing more. She's going to be upset. She can take it up with the property owner. Let me know if there are other issues. Friday morning, my mother called, voice tight with frustration. Sophia, the gallery is being difficult about our event. Do you know anyone in real estate who might have connections with the gallery ownership? We need someone to make a call for us. What exactly are you asking for? Just reasonable accommodations. The East Wing for additional seating, early morning access for setup, extended evening hours. Nothing excessive. But this manager is being incredibly rigid about contracts. Mom, those are standard property management policies. The gallery has other bookings to honor. Sophia, this is important. This portrait represents our family's legacy. Surely whoever owns this property would want to support that. Her voice took on a familiar tone. Marcus offered to call some of his firm's real estate clients. Amanda said she could have one of her partners reach out. We need someone with actual influence. The gallery manager is following standard procedures. You're not being very supportive. But I suppose that's not surprising. You're not in the portrait anyway. She hung up before I could respond. Saturday morning, I arrived at the gallery at 9:30 a.m. for my board meeting. My parents were in the main exhibition hall, arguing with Michael Torres. A catering crew stood by with equipment. My mother looked furious. This is completely unacceptable, she was saying. We were told we could begin setup at 8 a.m. Now you're saying there's a scheduling conflict. Michael maintained professional composure. Mrs. Westfield, your contract specifies setup beginning at noon. You requested early access, which I explained would need property management approval. That approval was denied due to a prior booking, a corporate board meeting. A board meeting? On a Saturday? Who schedules corporate meetings on weekends? Companies that own commercial real estate portfolios, I said, walking up. Hi, Mom. She turned surprised. Sophia? What are you doing here? I have a board meeting. In the conference room. The one preventing your early setup access. My father appeared, Marcus and Amanda behind him. They all stared. Your board meeting? My father's tone was confused. Sophia, you work in real estate sales. What board meeting? I'm CEO of Westfield Properties. We own 43 commercial properties in the city. I'm meeting with my board to review quarterly performance and discuss new acquisitions. I glanced at Michael. The Riverside Gallery is one of our properties. I acquired the building 2 years ago. The silence was profound. My mother found her voice first. You own this gallery? I own the building. The gallery operates as a tenant, but yes, I'm the property owner. Michael works for my company. Marcus stepped forward. Wait, you own this building? How is that possible? I bought it through a holding company when the previous owner went bankrupt. Standard commercial real estate acquisition. I looked at my mother. The sister you excluded from your family portrait for not being professionally established enough owns the venue you're using to celebrate the successful family members. My father tried to recover. Sophia, we didn't know. You never mentioned owning a real estate company. I've mentioned it multiple times. You called it working in real estate sales and changed the subject to discuss Marcus's architecture projects. I showed them the Westfield Properties website with my photo and title. I've been CEO for 3 years. The information was always available. You just never asked. My mother's face had gone pale. But you never said you owned the Riverside Gallery specifically. You never asked about my properties. You booked the venue through the gallery's public website without mentioning you were my parents. Why would I have known? I paused. Though I did know once Michael forwarded me the booking confirmation. I've known for 3 months that you were hosting a portrait unveiling. A family portrait that deliberately excludes me. Sophia, my father started, voice placating. The portrait was about representing the family's professional achievements. We thought you were still establishing yourself. I established myself years ago, Dad. I run a company with 43 properties and a portfolio value of approximately $80 million. I have 15 employees. I sit on 2 commercial development boards. But you were so focused on Marcus's architecture and Amanda's law career that you never bothered to learn what I actually do. Marcus tried a different approach. Look, this is obviously a misunderstanding. We can add you to the portrait. The artist could paint you in. Paint me in. I laughed, the sound harsh. You're hosting a portrait unveiling in a building I own, celebrating a family I'm not part of, and now you want to retroactively include me because you found out I'm not the failure you assumed I was? Amanda spoke up. This is your property. You can cancel our booking. Is that what this is about? No. Your contract is valid. You can have your unveiling tonight during the hours you booked in the space you paid for. I'm not going to interfere with that. Then what? My mother started. But I'm also not going to approve your requests for additional space, extended hours, or early setup access. You get exactly what you contracted for. Nothing more. And I'm certainly not attending your celebration of a family that doesn't include me. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Sophia, you're being vindictive. I'm being a property manager. You're getting the standard service outlined in your contract. I looked at each of them. You wanted a portrait showing the family's successful members. The most financially successful member of this family is the one you left out. And now you're standing in her building, asking her employee for special favors. David appeared from the growing crowd. He'd come for moral support. He was grinning. This is even better than I imagined. My board meeting proceeded as scheduled. Through the conference room windows, I could see my parents dealing with standard setup procedures without special accommodations. Everything was professional, adequate, but not the elaborate production my mother had envisioned. That evening I didn't attend the unveiling. Instead, I had dinner with David at a restaurant across the street. A restaurant in another building I owned. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from Marcus asking me to reconsider attending. A voicemail from Amanda saying we needed to discuss this situation rationally. An email from my father requesting a family meeting. I ignored all of them. Michael texted at 9 p.m. Event concluded smoothly. Your family asked again about extended hours. I declined per your instructions. Mrs. Westfield asked if she could speak to my supervisor. I told her my supervisor is the company CEO. She didn't ask who that was. Sunday morning my parents showed up at my apartment. Both looked exhausted. We need to talk, my father said. I let them in, said nothing, waited. My mother spoke first. Last night was humiliating. People kept asking why you weren't at your own family's portrait unveiling. Then someone mentioned you own the gallery. By the end of the evening, half the guests knew we'd excluded our daughter from a family portrait while hosting the event in her building. That must have been awkward. Sophia, we made a mistake. My father's voice was heavy. We didn't understand the scope of what you've built. You valued their careers more because they have recognizable company names. You never bothered to ask what I actually do. My mother wiped her eyes. We're sorry. We should have included you. We should have asked about your work. You should have valued me regardless of my professional success. But you didn't. You made a family portrait that deliberately excludes one child because she doesn't meet your standards. Except that excluded child is more financially successful than anyone in the portrait. How do we fix this? My father asked quietly. You can't fix this with a conversation. You excluded me from the family portrait. That portrait is now hanging in my gallery and everyone who sees it knows the story. 6 months later, my parents commissioned a new portrait and invited me to participate. I declined. I don't need to be in your portrait. I don't need your validation anymore. The original portrait still hangs in the Riverside Gallery's permanent collection. I donated it. Every visitor can see the awkward gap on the left side, the compositional imbalance where someone should be. The gallery staff know the story. They tell visitors. The family who excluded their daughter from their portrait, then unveiled it in her building. Some families celebrate all their children equally. Others only recognize success when it becomes impossible to ignore. Mine needed to host their vanity project in my property before they saw me. But by then I'd stopped needing them to. The story became a cautionary tale in the city's social circles. I heard variations of it at business events. People would mention that family portrait disaster without realizing they were talking to me. I never corrected them. My real estate company continued growing. I acquired 6 more properties that year, including 2 historic buildings downtown. Each acquisition was covered in the business press, my name and title clearly stated. My parents saw the articles. They started saving them, building a collection of achievements they'd missed in real time. Marcus called me a year after the unveiling. I saw your photo in the business journal. Another major acquisition. Mom has the article on her refrigerator. That's nice, I said neutrally. It's pathetic, he corrected. She's trying to claim pride in something she actively dismissed. We all are. He paused. For what it's worth, I tell people now that my sister's the successful one in the family. That I'm just an architect, but she built an empire. It was something. Not enough, but something. Amanda started referring clients to me when they needed commercial real estate advice. Small gestures, attempts to acknowledge what they'd refused to see before. But the portrait still hung in my gallery, a permanent reminder of the family that valued perception over reality. Tourists took photos of it, art students sketched it, critics analyzed its composition, always noting the strange empty space that suggested someone missing. I walked past it once, months after the unveiling. The gap on the left side was more obvious than I remembered, an absence that dominated the entire piece. The family looked incomplete, frozen in their formal poses, celebrated for achievements that paled beside the daughter they'd excluded. A gallery visitor stood beside me studying it. "There's something off about this painting," she said. "Like someone's missing." "Someone is," I replied. "That's sad. Families should be complete." I thought about that as I walked away. Some families are complete. Others just look complete until you notice the gaps, the missing pieces, the people erased for not fitting the image. My family had their portrait. I had my buildings, my company, my success built without their recognition or support. I knew which mattered more. The portrait would hang in my gallery forever, not as their legacy but as mine. A reminder that I'd built something substantial enough to own the very walls that displayed their incomplete vision of family success. Some victories are quiet. Some validation comes not from being included, but from realizing you never needed their frame to prove your worth.